Morning. I'm glad they think I'm a fantastic researcher and they haven't even found out what I did yet. It's a real vote of confidence. I'm an independent researcher and I've spent over the last 10 or 12 years working in the area of children's rights and children's research, and I have particular interest in children's participation. I was very lucky last year to be invited by Tusla to work with them on their National Children's Charter. And just to go back maybe to the beginning about why they were developing this charter, and I know that thinking about developing a charter for children's services began back in the HSE Child and Family Services. But when Tusla developed their document in 2015 towards developing a participation strategy for children and young people, this became a priority action for them, and consequently here we are today. Why develop a charter in the first place, I suppose, is one question that could be asked. Customer charters, or client charters as they're sometimes called, generally their purpose is to set out the standard of services that customers, clients, service users, including children, can expect to receive from any service, and they're quite common across a range of services.
Carry on.
Thank you. Tusla's National Children's Charter should essentially benefit children by providing greater clarity in relation to the standards of services that children can expect to receive from all of Tusla's staff, how these will be delivered, and the underlying principles that inform them. And the same benefit is there for staff in that it should give a very clear indication of what the principles that underlie services to children and their families should be. Obviously, in developing a children's charter, and very much in line with the thinking in Tusla around children's participation, it was essential, it was absolutely essential that this came from children and young people. And in seeking to get young people's participation, what Tusla did was they identified 4 groups, one in each region, in order to participate in consultation exercise with us to draw up this charter. Now, in looking to identify these projects, Tusla were seeking to get a variety. So we were looking at trying to get a range of ages, a rural-urban divide, children who had experience in participative and consultation exercises, children who'd never had an experience of consultation and participation exercises like this. And in the end, we had 4 groups that we were lucky enough to work with. The Cork Life Centre in Cork City, I'll spot the spelling mistake there now, Mount Mellick Development Association in County Laois, and the Tusla Child and Family Centre in Castleblaney, County Monaghan, and the Ballybane Family Support Centre in Galway City. And we had over 50 children participate in the consultation exercises. They were aged between 10 and 18. They were engaged with a range of services that Tusla provide, everything from child protection services, family support services, community services, education welfare services, across the range of what is provided. And we tried very hard, and we did succeed to an extent, to get some of what are called usually in research terms, they're called hard to reach or seldom heard groups. And we did manage to get a number of those, and that includes children from ethnic minorities, children from the traveller community, who are sometimes very difficult to actually get their voices heard. Now, sorry, my presentation has stuck here, so if you just bear with me. So, how did we go about the participation process? Once the groups were identified, all of the children and their parents and their guardians were provided with information about what the charter was about what would happen in the consultations, about what the purpose was, how long it would take, what we would do, who we were, what we were seeking to achieve out of it. And consent was sought from parents and assent was sought from young people. Once that was achieved and we had our groups, and I must say, going back to one of Laura's points, we made it abundantly clear at the early stages of this process that participation was voluntary. Just because you were a member of the group in Mountmellick, in Cork, in Galway, in Castleblaney, did not mean that you had to come to this consultation session. It was an invitation. It wasn't a summons, and that was made very clear. So participation was very much on a voluntary basis. The participation and partnership officers, along with the key workers in the projects who did some fantastic work prior to us meeting the young people at all, provided a lot of additional information around how the consultation process might work, the kind of things we might look at and we might talk about, and what we hoped to do with that information once we had it. And then after that, we went out to the projects. We arranged consultation process, and Tusla went to the projects, and I think that's really significant. We didn't ask them to come into Tusla offices. We went to their spaces, which I think was very significant in the very positive responses that we got. In the first consultation groups, we spent a fair bit of time giving additional and very clear and hopefully very friendly information to the young people, because information is absolutely essential if you're going to ask children to participate in something. None of us can participate in something that we know nothing about, and we don't know why we're there, and we don't know who's there. And as adults we can't do that. We shouldn't expect children to. So we went out and we gave additional information in the beginning of the consultation exercise about who Tusla was. Because one of the things, and I think it's a credit to many of the local projects that work with these children and with these young people, they weren't aware that they were in receipt of a service that was being funded or originated in Tusla. They weren't aware that the people they worked with on a daily basis were Tusla. So this is, I think, is a really positive thing. This is not a stigma thing. No, nobody knew. So we had to explain again who Tusla were, what a charter is, what we were hoping to do with it, why we wanted to write one. We did a little bit around children's rights, and that this is a rights-based exercise. And then also we gave them a couple of examples of other children's charters that are fairly well known internationally, particularly the Scottish Children's Charter for children that are in receipt of child protection services, and some very good examples from New Zealand as well. We also used a video and a storyboard. Chick and Dan, and I'd say the young people who were involved in the consultations are looking at these going, oh, there they are again. Chick is a video that's aimed at younger children that Tusla have developed. I don't know if any of you have seen these yet. Dan, when we were using it, was a storyboard, is now a video aimed at older children, teenagers. And what these do is they highlight the kind of problems that children and young people might be experiencing at home at different times, the kind of issues that arise, how children might come to the attention of Tusla, how they might come to the attention of different services, the kind of supports that Tusla might give. And we used these for, I suppose, a number of reasons. One is that they were very good and they were very clear at highlighting these issues and the kind of issues that we were hoping the children would think about and react to. But also very much because they allowed the young people to engage with the issues in an indirect and non-disclosing manner. We were aware that some of the children and young people we were dealing with would have experience of the issues that are portrayed in these. But not everybody around them may know that, and they may not want everybody to know that. So they could talk to the issues via these characters, as opposed to having to disclose or having to make it obvious that they had experience of these services, or just say nothing because they were afraid of that. So we also provided a number of questions to guide the consultations, and I won't go through all of these in detail, but I think we all know it's very difficult to be handed a blank page and say, what do you think? Here's a video, what do you think of that? What do you think of those issues? It's very difficult to respond to something like that. So we did go through a number of questions with the young people to try and help structure their thinking about this, structure their discussions. And they really were just around, if you were Chick or you were Dan in these videos, how would you want to be treated by Tusla workers? What would make you feel better? What would make you feel safe? What would make you feel scared? What would make you feel angry? And then what kind of information would you want? What would you want to know if you were in this situation? We received in total, in these groups, 281 separate comments. So when I came away from these 4 consultation processes, I had 481 comments as they were written by the young people. We didn't doctor their language, we didn't doctor their expression. It was word for word what they asked us to put on those sheets or what they wrote themselves. And we organised them thematically, analysed them thematically, and we ended up with about 14 themes. And I won't go through all of these now because we're going to come back to them. But I suppose we got some surprises when we saw these first, largely because of the way they were ordered. The most common comment that was made by children was, we don't have enough information. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who you are. We don't know why you're here. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when the next meeting is. We don't know what's going to happen when you leave the room. The information was by far a really significant issue for children. But the issue that we sometimes think as adults and as professionals is the most central, which is safety. How do we keep children and young people safe? Came very far down the list here in terms of what children and young people were identifying. I think this is one of the most interesting aspects of this whole process, is that we decided at the very beginning that we were going to do 2 consultation exercises, and the second one was going to be a feedback. So after we did all of this, we went back to the groups in January of this year, and we were absolutely delighted because the majority of the original participants came back. And we were just so pleased to get that, and to get that continuity, but also we were hoping that it was an indication that they were really interested and had a really connecting with this. And we went back for 3 reasons. One was to check our analysis of their comments. In other words, this is how we understood what you said. Did we understand it correctly? The second reason was to give them a draft of the charter and again say to them, is this what you want? Is this saying what you want to say? And the third thing was to get ideas about the layout, the presentation, the format that this would come in. And just the results of these, I think, it's just so valuable. And I think evidence that it's such a valuable thing to do. The themes largely remained the same. We explained the themes to the groups, and they were broadly happy with the themes. But we told them to look at the individual comments that they had given us and say, were they in the right place? And there was 2 very clear messages. One, sometimes we just got it wrong. They said something and we completely misunderstood it. Put it somewhere else. When I said that, I didn't mean respect. I meant listen to me. It's wrong, move it. But the other, and I think really interesting factor of this, is that many of the statements had more than one meaning for children. More than one meaning. So comments got put under more than one theme, more than one idea. And just an interesting one in that is in the issue of mental health. We got a number of comments in relation to the importance and significance of mental health for children and young people. And one group saying, we will not support or sign up to any charter that doesn't reference the need for mental health and us to get mental health support. But comments under mental health came under keep us safe. It was a safety issue for some children. It came under treat us with respect. it came under think about alternative services. It came under get us information. So it was coming under, it had all of these different meanings for them, which is, for us, I think, was a really valuable thing for us to do. When they looked at the content of the charter, they were broadly happy with it. It was too wordy, too long, too many words. We don't need all those words, cut them, you know. And also very much identified the need for two versions. One that would appeal to younger children, one that would appeal to older children. I think it's fairly accurate to say, and some of the groups are here today, I think it's fairly accurate to say that yous weren't all that impressed with the first two layouts that were mocked up of the charter, and we got some very blunt and honest feedback about not those colours, not those lines, not those shapes, not that text. So we took all that away with us as well, and also very good ideas about how this should be made available. You know, online, in posters, with an audio version, with a braille version, in different languages, possibly an app, possibly not. All of these ideas about how, and one of the really, I think, core things about this is that the young people looked at this and said, yeah, well, I can understand that, but if I have reading difficulties, how am I ever going to engage with this? So we need an audio for young people who have a difficulty with that. I understand it, but my 8-year-old brother is not going to know what that means, so we need another version. And thinking well beyond their own experience, their own engagement with it, to the engagement of others. These were the reordered themes. The themes held, but we did need to reorder them. And again, I think the key message here is that the ones that were really important to children and young people didn't change. Treat us with respect. Listen to us. Give us information. Build a relationship with us. Have a positive attitude. Be child-focused. Think about our family. These all remained at the top of those lists. And the ones that sometimes, as I say, we think are the most important are further down that line. So, this is just to give a sense of some of the comments that were made. Not 281 of them, you will be very relieved to hear. But under Treat Us With Respect, say people, like, these are direct quotes from them, not to laugh at us, not to be made fun of. I'd like the workers not to judge. Don't assume you know everything about me. The assumption that you know everything about a young person is seen by them to be very disrespectful. Listen to us. Don't put words in our mouth. You know, ask what you want. Use appropriate language. Ask how you're feeling and be patient. Patience was mentioned many, many times. In terms of giving us information, tell us what's going to happen. Why are you here? You know, this idea that young people didn't know why a worker was here. What do you do? What do you do for Tusla? And what way do you work? Keep the language simple. No big words. We need simple language. We need to understand. In building a relationship, show us you care. Have a chat with us. Let us get to know one another. Gain trust over time. Don't expect to walk into a room and because you are in a particular role, expect me to trust you. This was, I have to say, was one that came up time and time again, was about being appropriate, not frowning, be positive. Watch your body language. Have good, positive body language, good facial expressions. And a child-focused approach. Don't treat us like another case. You know, let the young person choose where they meet. Really, on a negative sense, workers taking too long to get through issues, which is not child-friendly. And then their exclusion, where they only, don't only talk to the adults, talk to us. I will get to the charter in just a second, but I just want to say a little bit just following on from Laura's presentation in relation to just the model and how we saw it applying here. There is no question, and it may seem a very obvious thing to say, but I think any of us in this room involved in participation, going back 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, the participation of children in something that was directly targeted at children was not a given. It was not taken for granted. And therefore, it was absolutely essential that this was drawn on from children and young people. The methodology that we used drew on Laura's model, and I won't spend too long on this because Laura's gone through it, but just the 4 aspects of space, voice, audience and influence. In relation to space, we were very, very clear that we were going to meet children and young people where they were comfortable. We met them in their spaces, in their projects, with people they already knew, with their key workers, with the project workers, with the participation officers, people they were comfortable with, people they could talk around. And we gave them enough information to decide whether or not they wanted to take part and to what extent. In relation to voice, we gave a lot of additional information at the sessions to help them form a view, help them structure a view. And again, this was facilitated in a comfortable way by adults they already knew and were comfortable around. And then there's the direct recording of their views. We didn't change what they wrote. We didn't change the way they wanted to say it. One of the groups said to me, we had a sentence with a lot of expletives. And they said, can we use bad language? And I said, that is your language, you can use it. And we will write it down. Probably not going to publish it. It's probably not going to make it into the public version, but that's your language, you can express yourself. In relation to audience, the views were recorded accurately, certainly listened to, and then fed back to the children for verification, which I think is really significant. And we gave them evidence of saying, this is where your comments are in this charter. This is how they fed into these themes. And although I have comments here on influence, I don't think I need them, because I think the influence of their views is evidenced on the posters that you see around this room. These are the children's views on what they want. But one of the other very interesting things, and perhaps this is something that they would like to talk about, is that every single one of the 181 comments that we received directly from young people, in all of their expletive glory, was given to senior management and senior staff in Tusla. And certainly the feedback to me is that that was one of the most powerful things for staff to see, because it reflected the young people's experiences so clearly and their expectations so clearly in their own language. Okay, I'm going to say I was going to put these up on slides, but obviously you don't need them because they're all around the room. So this is the children's version that you have here that's targeted towards younger children. And this is the young person's version that's here and targeted towards teenagers and older children. Now, I'm being told that I'm rapidly running out of time here, so I'm going to move on from this. I would just like very quickly to tell you what's on that charter, which is, as children or young people, what we want Tusla to do. We want them to treat our family and us with respect. Give us information we can understand. Listen and talk to us. Involve us in making decisions and plans. Be positive, be friendly, be caring. Give us time to trust each other. Do activities we enjoy with each other. Talk to us in private and where we're comfortable. Give our families help and advice to care for us. Help keep us safe and away from harm. Only share our information with others when you have to. Give us or get us information and help from other services. Think about the good and bad things in our lives and our futures, and think about our mental health. And then there is what Tusla committed to, but that's on the charters, and I won't take up time with it. Just in terms of next steps, just to say to you that this morning the young people are going to formally present the charter to Fred, which we're very pleased about. And then a poster version of this will be circulated to all of the Tusla offices and services. We're also just going to draw up a very brief staff document for staff around the purpose, the development, the possible use of this, and then additional ways of making the charter available are being developed. My final words are this: the Children's Charter applies to all Tusla staff, for all children. That is from reception to the CEO. Every Tusla staff member, every child. And Tusla is very aware that many, the majority, if not all of those staff, operate to the principles that are there already. But this serves as a reminder of the approach that we need to be taking. The really important point about this that I'm going to make is that this is very much a children and young people's charter. It is what they want. It is drawing on their experiences, their expectations, their views, and that's critical. The charter is a first attempt, and it will be subject to review. It will be coming up for review in the future. My very last words on this is that at a personal level, I would just like to thank Pat Osborne and Laura Quinn from Tusla for all of the support and help in undertaking this project and for inviting me to do it in the first place. I'd also like to thank the participation and partnership officers and the workers in the local projects. We could not have done this without your support. Could not. But most of all, I have to thank the children and young people. They gave up their time during school holidays and after school. They shared their thoughts, their views, and often their experiences with us in very open and frank ways. They worked hard on this when we were in that room with them. And it could not be a children's charter without them. So I would really and more than anything, they made this one of the most positive and pleasurable research experiences I have ever had in the past 30 years of doing this work. So thank you very much. The Tusla Centre in Castleblaney, and Daniel Comerford from Mount Mellick Development Association onto the stage. You're going to talk.
I'm Emily. I was going through a hard time in my life, and I had been through a lot of different type of services over the 4 years, and I was never happy with them. It was good to see how I was feeling and what was going on, but I did not once feel I was actually listened to. I always felt it was about everyone else and never was focused on me. It sounds selfish, but I was there to get help for myself. I felt they always made problems seem worse than they were, and always put words into my mouth. But then I met Nicola, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. From feeling dead inside, she actually made me feel alive. I never seen Nicola as a social worker. I always seen her as a best friend. I finally felt I was listened to, whether it was good or bad. And then I got introduced to the group, and it made me realise that I wasn't alone. I got to meet great people, and now we are like a little family. This all made me realise that life does get better, and I always tell myself this little saying: just imagine your life is a rocky mountain. You will fall down a few times, but at the end of the day, you will pick yourself up and reach the top. Our group then got involved in the Children's Charter, and this was great because myself and the others got to get our voices across. And now this has made me so much stronger and proud of the person who I have become today. But not everyone is strong, not everyone has a Nicola, not everyone has a participation group, and this is why it is so important to be heard, otherwise what is the point? It is my hope that the Children's Charter will give us the chance to finally be heard.
Stop on the keys, yeah. Just stop.
My name is William, and I have travelled today from Cork to speak about the involvement of myself and my fellow students at the Cork Life Centre in developing the Children's Charter. The Cork Life Centre is an organisation that works with young people in Cork who find themselves outside mainstream education. The centre is more like a community than a school, where everyone knows each other by first name and we try to work together as a team and as equals. We are all different, but are united as a community by the fact that all of us had a difficult time in school. We really enjoyed being a part of the consultation process. We were glad to be scoped out to participate in this, as every student and teacher in the Cork Life Centre feels very strongly around children and young people's rights and have a lot to say about it. So this was a great opportunity for us to speak out and express our opinions on an issue we really care about. The researchers gave us opinions and made sure that everything was said and fully understood. They do not generalise at all. We gave opinions and experiences. They did not assume that these were the representative of all young people and could be understood by all young people. This to us seemed too clear that the researchers, Carmel and Laura, really cared about having the voices of young people heard. They did not impose their own ideas on us, but worked very hard to make sure they understood our point of view, even after hearing our thoughts once they came back again to verify what we said. And they used our new feedback to expand on and develop on what they previously had laid out. We feel that Tusla has the potential to become an incredible safe haven, and we appreciate being able to contribute to that and hope that they accomplish their goals as soon as possible. If everyone was working with the children and young people in the way Carmel and Laura did, the potential of Tusla would be limitless. We think it's very important to be involved in this project because the issues involved were very close to home for us. Lots of young people attending the Cork Life Centre are involved with services such as Tusla and struggle with using them as the services at times. The parts of the charter we thought were personally the most relevant were the topics which dealt with child being included and respected as a part of the process, more specifically involving the child in decisions, giving the child good information, keeping the child's future in mind and respecting the child's confidentiality, and basically keeping the child's wishes in mind. Nobody wants to be excluded. That applies to children and young people too. Thank you to all those in organising the development of Tusla's Children's Charter, particularly Carmel, Corrigan and Laura Quinn, and thank you for inviting us here today for the launch.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Comerford. If I could have a moment of your time, I'd like to tell you how much the Mount Mellick Youth Development Centre, thank you, means to us as young people in our society. I volunteered to write this speech because over the years that I've been a part of the MIDC, it has helped me in so many different ways. For example, it has helped me make new friends, and it has helped me boost my confidence, for without the MIDC, I wouldn't be able to stand here in front of you all today. So I'm thankful for the MIDC for helping me so much. The MIDC has helped so many young people in so many different ways. There's a variety of groups and activities for the young people of Mount Mellick thanks to the MIDC. There's the likes of Early Bird, a group which ensures that children have a healthy breakfast and a positive start to the day before they go into school. And there's Recess, which helps young people make the stressful transition from primary school to secondary school in the easiest way possible. There are so many other groups like Homework Club, Shapes, Pass, Teens, Summer Camp, and so many others that if I were to explain them all, we would be here all day. But in those groups, we are taught so many different things, like drug awareness, peer pressure, and bullying, or what to do if we find ourselves in those situations, which is really important because if we did not know what to do in those situations, we would eventually find ourselves down the wrong path in life. The MIDC is needed more than people realise. It teaches children how to become young adults, and it teaches us how to make friends and helps us not fall in with the wrong crowd. The MIDC gives young people a positive way to spend their time. Instead of getting into trouble, we are preparing ourselves for the future. For example, the Wednesday group teaches us how to become youth leaders for other groups, which gives us a sense of responsibility. The Mount Malik Youth Development Centre is also an amazing inspiration for us young people. For example, when I leave school, I want to go to college and study social studies, so I can become a youth worker like them. And I'm sure so many others want to be like them too. The MIDC is also an amazing place that we can go and have our opinions heard without fear of judgment. Everybody has an equal say on events and activities, so nobody feels left out. At the start of the year, each group creates their own rules, which makes them easier to follow and remember. And every year, we, as young people, choose a place to go to for our end-of-year trip, which we can all attend as long as we achieve all our stars, which at the end of each group, we decide if we have earned them or not. So in close, I'd just like to say thank you to the people of the MIDC, from all of us, from all the people that you've helped over the years. I hope that the MIDC continues on for so many years to come. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask Fred McBride to come to the stage, please.
Well, thank you. When you hear the young people's stories, of course, it's always really inspiring, and I don't know about you, but it reminds me about why we come into this work in the first place. So I'd like to thank the young people for their work on this charter. As I say, their stories are inspiring. It sounds very much like the staff that have been working with them have also been inspiring, and they're exactly the kind of staff and the values and the behaviour that we want in this organisation. So I accept this charter on my own behalf, first and foremost, because as Chief Executive, I'd like to think that the way that I behave and conduct myself is true to the values in this charter and the behaviours that young people want to see from not just Tusla, but from public services in the round. And I'd also like to accept it on behalf of the whole organisation, because this just isn't a project. You know, this needs to be a way of working. It's just how we do all of our business. It's not a project. It's core to how we operate as an agency, and that's what I want to demonstrate and mentor as Chief Executive. So thanks to the young people, thanks to the staff. We're delighted to accept this charter. It will be part of our core business going forward. Thank you.